We have to serve these young people.
Talk about the pressure.
There's pressure here to win.
But to win in the right way.
Enhance or die. Be honest and non-emotional.
There is no cookie cutter approach to leadership.
That's what makes Notre Dame special. All of our guys come here because they want to be first round picks.
Are you implying that I'm a no-star recruit?
No.
From the campus of Our Lady's University, this is For Good, Stories from Notre Dame. A behind-the-scenes glimpse into life under the Golden Dome and the powerful stories that drive Notre Dame to become a force for good in the world. Welcome to For Good, Stories from Notre Dame. We're in a place that you don't normally see. We're in the coaches' offices at the Guglielmino Athletics Complex in the Smith family suite of offices. It's on the second floor of the Goog, and we are joined today by the Dick Corbett head football coach, Marcus Freeman. He recently completed a 10-win season, and in his second year, overall his record is 19-8, an auspicious beginning to what we think is a legacy that's only going to get better. He is clearly the most visible representative at the University of Notre Dame, the prism through which most people see the university. And I cannot think of a leader who better embodies the values and ideals of Our Lady's University than Marcus Freeman. He has an incredible work ethic. He's a family person with impeccably high values, a deep moral code, a person of faith, an incredible role model for our student athletes. He's successful both on the field and off. Coach Freeman, thank you so much for being with us today and opening up your office to all of our viewers. So the first question I wanted to ask you is about your role as head coach and how you perceive it, especially as it pertains to the development of the roughly 115 student athletes that you have at a time. How do you develop them both on the field and off the field as future leaders of this country and world?
Yeah, I think when you talk about developing a student athlete, I myself and our staff look at this in a holistic approach, in that we have to serve these young people, right? And we're not talking a passive word in serve. We're talking about very efficient and very intentional about making time to be whatever our players need. Sometimes they need a leader. Sometimes they need somebody to listen to them. Sometimes they need motivation. But whatever our young people need, to me, that's the way you serve your players. All of our guys come here because they want to be first-round picks.
Yeah.
They want to be developed. They want to be the best football player they can be. But we also know they're getting education that is second to none. And so we have to constantly remind them, because you're going to be in class and you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a great reminder that any great opportunity ahead of you, you have to embrace that struggle and understand you have to work hard. So it's our role to make sure whatever our young people need athletically, academically, socially, spiritually, mentally, physically, that's who we are, and that's what we're here to serve in our young people.
I love that. So it's a comprehensive and integrated approach, but it's tailor-made to whatever the students' needs are. So there is no cookie cutter approach to leadership.
No, it is. It's forever changing, and it's being adaptable, and it's being able to have a playbook as a leader, but being able to adapt and adjust to what each individual needs. They're not all the same.
Yeah.
We have 115 young people in this football program, and everyone is different. It's our job to make sure that we're serving the needs of every single player.
In some circles, it's been discussed that you're really a coach of coaches. So you assemble a staff around you, and the position coaches and the coordinators work very closely with the student athletes. And the difficult thing is that there's high turnover in the coaching world, especially when you do well. Many of are elevated to head coaching positions or coordinators at other schools. How do you deal with the turnover, and how do you think about what kind of coach you want to bring into your program and how they fit into a whole team of coaches?
Yeah, Luke, change is inevitable, especially at a place like Notre Dame, where your coaches are going to be perceived in a light that is second to none amongst college football. That's the reason why I chose Notre Dame, is I know the perception of who I was as a coach would be viewed very highly. And so we have to understand that. So I'm always happy and supportive for our coaches that are able to go and to continue to enhance in the profession for themselves personally and their families. But then you have to bring in more coaches and new talent. And I always say that when I'm looking for coaches, number one, I evaluate the person.
Yeah.
Is this the right person for this football program, and has the similar values as myself as a person? But number two, he's got to be able to coach. You got to be a great teacher. You got to be able to help our young people, as I said earlier, reach their football goals. Right. And that's important. And so we recently made 2 hires. And for me, I was fortunate to have some familiarity with who they were. I worked with them before. And Mike Denbrock, who's back for his 3rd time here at Notre Dame. And coming from LSU as our offensive coordinator. I worked with him at Cincinnati for 4 years. And then Mike Brown, who was at Wisconsin. But we worked together for 3 years, 2 or 3 years at Cincinnati. And I saw firsthand the people and the coach they were with my own eyes. And when I had a chance to hire those 2 guys, I did it without hesitation. And then we hired a new strength coach, right? And Lauren Lando. And, I did not know him. I got rave reviews from football players that have worked underneath him. And then as you talk to other strength coaches in the profession, he is one of the most respected strength coaches in the entire field. And he's so unique. He's coached at all 3 levels. He understands the approach to coach a large group, being a former NFL strength coach, but also he's worked with mixed martial arts and all different type of athletes. So he understands the individualized approach you must have to certain athletes.
And you got a little martial arts background
I
yourself,
do have a little bit. I do have.
What is it? Is it Taekwondo?
Taekwondo.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Ago.
That's and that's when you kind of like, it's almost like you adapt in Taekwondo. Don't you? Like you adapt to what's being done to you in your role. Is
Absolutely.
that it? Yeah.
It's very similar. Even you think about wrestling, and all those are mixed martial arts. Wrestling, Taekwondo, Kung Fu, karate.
Yeah.
And he has a background in that, and I really love that because I was looking for somebody that could individualize certain aspects of a workout to what our players need. You can't cookie cut and say everybody needs to be trained like this. There is a mental and physical discipline, accountability that an entire group needs, but there also is an individualized approach to your student athletes. And so he's only really worked our athletes for 3 weeks, and I've heard nothing but rave reviews from our players, from our sports performance team. So I'm really pleased with these hires.
So, it seems to me, and I know so little, so correct me if I'm wrong here, that it used to be kind of purely strength and conditioning. And now it's much more at the interface of strength and conditioning and sports performance.
That's right.
You have to be open to how those kind of 2 worlds mesh. And does our new strength and conditioning coordinator have that sense of that interface?
That was a big part of the interview process. I wanted somebody that could come in here and work with a sports performance team. We have a team to really to serve our players in terms of, you look at your strength and conditioning coach, you look at athletic trainer, sports psychologist, sports science. We have that in John Waggle, and our nutritionist, sports dietitian. All these people work together to make sure that our young people truly are served holistically. You can't just say, hey, strength coach, you go do one thing, athletic trainer, you do another thing. Like, we all have to be on the same page in terms of what we're asking our young people to do. And I really, that was a big part of this whole process of making sure somebody could fit into the sports performance team.
Yeah. And probably when you were a player, there wasn't as much of an emphasis on the sports science side. No. And now it's emerged. And I've heard folks discuss that, it is all of those things that you said. It's diet. One of the things that I've heard is a real critical point of emphasis is sleep. And how do you kind of measure and try to regulate that with your student athletes?
Yeah, there's a sense of giving them wisdom in terms of why sleep is so important, but also, you want to give them their privacy too. Right. And so if they want us to monitor their sleep and how much sleep they're getting, what type of sleep they're getting, we have ways to do that. But we also don't want them to feel like 24/7, we know everything they're doing, right? We want them to have a sense of freedom. So a lot of our guys want that feedback, and we're able to give it to them to help them sleep more, because they understand that the proper sleep will affect your performance. And so if this can help my performance, that's what I want. And that's what a lot of our kids desire.
That's a great line. A lot of this goes back to parenting too, right? You want to give them the framework, but you don't want to micromanage every move. So you've been a football coach for many years, but only the last 2 years as a head football coach, and yet to start as the head football coach at Notre Dame. I know that the work ethic, I don't know anybody who travels more than you, and that's reflected in the amazing success that you've had with recruiting. Talk about the pressure. I often think in an organization, the greatest distance is the distance between the number 2 person and the number 1 person. Because when you become the number 1 person, and especially in a role like this, which is so visible, that so many people are passionate about, and they want to second guess your every move. Was it surprising how big the step up was in terms of the pressure? How do you manage the pressure?
I think I kind of was groomed for this my year as a defense coordinator.
Yeah.
Coming from Cincinnati, you had certain routines you did after the game and looking at your phone and being on social media. And then I come to Notre Dame as a defensive coordinator, and that first game versus Florida State, our defense wasn't great that game, and I kind of looked on social media as I always did. And I said, okay, this is probably not something that I need to do, and the reality is that, yeah, there's pressure here to win. And, but that's pressure I put on myself. That's pressure that our kids put on
But not only to win, but to win in the right way.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
Yeah.
But, for me, I put the most pressure on myself to see our young players have success. Mm-hmm. And they might view success one way.
Yeah.
I view it differently. And yes, part of that is athletically, but also it's academically and seeing, hey, when they're done playing a game of football, they're having success. And that's the most pressure I put on myself, is that I want to see every single one of these young people have success. Right. And they might not realize when that success is there. Yeah. Right? Success doesn't mean just getting drafted or being a Pro Bowler like Kyle Hamilton and some of those guys were this year. Success could mean just getting my degree, being the first generation in your family to get your degree. Right. And that to me is the pressure. Every day I walk into this building is how do I make sure these young people reach their goals? Daily goals, yearly goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. And that to me is more pressure than anything. Yeah.
So it's that humility in you to be worthy of your student athletes, to be able to serve them to the very best in their development. That's what's wonderful. So let's talk about the fact that you've got this incredible wife in Joanna and 6 beautiful kids, family portraits all around. We'll take a look later. Just talk a little bit about the balance and how you try to integrate family into work. I feel like I work reasonably hard, but nowhere near the amount of time that you're traveling and how much you're in demand. So how do you manage that balance? I've always said it's a blend. It is a blend. There is no balance. Like being a head football coach at Notre Dame, you can't balance family and the responsibilities that it takes here. But I try to blend it as much as I can. If I can have my wife stop by for lunch and bring a couple kids after school, let's do it. If they can come to practice, bring them here. And then when I'm able to be home, be present. Yeah. Be present with your family. It was funny, we went out to dinner the other night and, I asked the kids, I said, who would you rather, if you had to choose between mom or dad to be at one of your sporting events, who would you choose? Every single one. Mom. So it was a great reminder that that's what they want. They want mom there. And when your son as a freshman finishes 6th in the state and you're asking, what about the top 5? Why did you finish 6th? They probably feel a little additional pressure. Yeah, they do. And then my daughter that's 12, she's like, you're just a distraction when you're there. Because she's a big gymnast. Yeah, she's a gymnast. And so it was funny. I went to one of her my first gymnastics meet I went to. I just haven't been able to make one. And she was like, no, Dad, I don't want you to come. And then I showed up and I said hello. I went sat in the corner. Nobody knew I was there. And then right after she was done, I left. I snuck out and I left. And then she gets home and she says, why didn't you stay for awards? Nobody saw that you were there. No, why didn't you stay for awards? I'm like, what do you want? You want me there or not? And so, but listen, to be present in that time that you're home is so valuable, right? To put your phone down and to try to be present with your wife and your kids is so important. But it's a blend, and they're a part of Notre Dame and my job as much as I'm a part of being at home with them. Do you think you've ever been as well conditioned in all your athletics and endeavors, wrestling, is your 12-year-old gymnastics daughter?
No.
It's amazing the conditioning that they go through.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's no way I could even think about going through the practice routines that she goes through.
So one of the things that's amazed me about you, and I don't think people are aware of, is you have the humility of somebody who is always trying to learn and grow. And I know when you're traveling, when you're recruiting, when you're giving speeches around the country, wherever you are, you try to find somebody that you can learn from.
Yep.
Other coaches and leaders from different sectors that you'll sit down with and just tap into their wisdom and their knowledge. Can you tell us about some of the people that you've met with and maybe what some of the takeaways have been?
Yeah, I have a personal belief and I've kind of implemented amongst our programs. It's enhance or die, right? If you don't enhance or you don't continuously get better and improve, you're going to get passed by.
Yeah.
And that's something I believe in. And so when I'm able to coincide some of my speaking engagements or things that I have to be at with professional development, I try to do that. And I'm fortunate being the head coach at Notre Dame, people are willing to meet with you. And again, you can meet with endless amount of former head coaches or current head coaches in football, but I love sometimes meeting with, a former General Fenton, right, who's a former Notre Dame grad, or Admiral Grady. And, I was met with Jason Kidd last year, who's the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. And to just see leadership from a different point of view. Right. That's why I love sometimes going to our basketball games or lacrosse games. I like to watch leaders lead an element that might not be football. Right. And so I just enjoy picking the brain, observing leadership and finding different ways that I can take a nugget and help myself improve. Right. Like that's what I want. I want to improve. So if I can watch you and just get one nugget or talk to you and get something that's going to help me in this program, I want to do that.
Do you meet with other football coaches as well?
Yeah. I had a really good meeting with Urban Meyer, who was here for our USC game, and Mike Tomlin is someone that I've often talked to. Tony Dungy, we've had a long meeting. Sean Payton with the Broncos, and I'm missing a lot, I'm sure, but I'm fortunate to be able to meet with a lot of great leaders and great head coaches.
You said something about the fact that you're the head football coach of Notre Dame, and it opens up a lot of doors for you. I once spoke with a coach here who said something that really stuck with me. I thought it was incredibly insightful. And he said, one of the great things about being at Notre Dame, he said, is it saves you from yourself. And he was saying that if he were a head coach, perhaps at some flagship state university, and there were a 5-star student athlete from that state, he'd have no choice but to take that student. And if that student was coming from a track record of a lot of bad decisions and so forth, he'd know that person likely could be bringing some NCAA violations, with him. He said, at Notre Dame, I can't even talk to that kid. And so tell us a little bit about this overhang of both the challenges and the good that comes with being the head football coach at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think going off of that example you just said, like Notre Dame isn't for every high school recruit.
Right.
But it's for more than those that realize, right? It's easy to go to the perennial private Catholic schools and find the best player and say, hey, come to Notre Dame. They understand Notre Dame. They're at a school that values spirituality and academics and those type of things. But I've really tried to maybe go to those places or see the young people that don't realize they're Notre Dame kids, but they are. Yeah. And to show them what makes this place so special. Right. And to show them the endless possibilities that Notre Dame provides. And we'll spend an endless amount of time talking about football and because that's what they want to hear. How are you going to make me a great football player? How are you going to get me to the NFL? But then you know what? I like to talk about take football out of the picture. Let me show you what else makes this place special. And when you can really give them both and let them see both, you got a great chance to get them to commit to Notre Dame.
And you are an incredible recruiter. And nobody can dispute the fact that, I think right now you've got the number 1 ranked class in 2025. And I know rankings kind of fluctuate here and there, but it's amazing what you've been able to do. So I'm really going to test the limits of your imagination right now. So I want you to just imagine that you're sitting across from a a 16-year-old, really talented Lou Nanni, and you're going to try to convince me, sell me to come and play football at Notre Dame. Give it to me.
Well, let's first figure out, what position do you play?
I've always been a quarterback.
Okay, well, you're a quarterback, all right? 6-year-old quarterback. Number one, I'm going to talk to you about our quarterback's coach, and Gino Gaduli, and the development that I've seen that he's had with Desmond Ridder, who was a no-star recruit committed to us at Cincinnati, and watch him develop Desmond to be the winningest quarterback at Notre Dame, at Cincinnati, in Cincinnati football history.
Wait a second, are you implying that I'm a no-star recruit?
Let's start there. Let's just start there. If you're a 5-star, it's even better, And but I want to sell him, right, in the developer he is of quarterbacks. Right. But then I'm also going to talk to you about how we just hired the number one offensive coordinator in the country, and that he had the number one offense and had the Heisman Trophy winner. So if those are things that attracts you in football, right, and that's what you want for your future, which I hope. Then that's the football side of things that is going to attract you to this place, right? That's number one. But two, then I'm going to say, okay, now let's throw football out the window, right? And I'm going to say, what high school did you go to?
Akron High School.
Okay, and you go to Akron High School and say, let me tell you something. I bet you the valedictorian of Akron High School is looking at Notre Dame, right? And that's the reality, is that if you take out athletics, those are the type of individuals that Notre Dame attracts, right? And so you're going to be in class with those guys. Yeah. And understand that we have one of the highest graduation rates in all of college football. So we have a great plan to make sure you succeed with the valedictorian of your high school. Yeah. Okay. And so now football's over. Yeah. Right. I don't know if you'll win the Heisman or not, right? Because 3% of people, college football players, make it to the NFL. And if I didn't believe you were one of those 3%, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. Right. So I believe you can make it to the NFL, but if you don't, if you're one of 97, right, let me show you what the education of Notre Dame can do for you. Yeah. Right. And whatever you aspire to do, maybe you don't know because you're in high school, but whatever you aspire to do, there is somebody that is associated with the Notre Dame network that will help you have success. And so take it all, right? Don't put all your eggs in football. Don't just put all your eggs in academics. Right. Go to a place that can offer you endless opportunities for success.
The good news is you got me. The bad news is you're probably not going to last very long with me as your quarterback. No, so on a serious note, one of the things that you did that was really popular right out of the blocks with the Notre Dame fan base and certainly the alumni was that you reinstated the pregame mass in the Basilica of the Sacred Heart, and then that long procession from the Basilica over to the Notre Dame Stadium, where fans and everything are able to kind of rally around the team. Why did you do that? And what do you think the impact of that is on the football team?
There was really two reasons why I made that decision. One was I remember being a recruit, and I came to a game and I remember seeing the players walk out of Basilica to the stadium, and that was something that I always remember being a young person. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. And so when I came here, I didn't know that it had changed, and I found out it had changed, and I said, okay, who can make the decision to change it back to the way it was? And they said, well, the head coach can, right? And so that was number one. But two, for anybody that plays sports, you're so vulnerable those moments before a game. As a coach, as players, like, you're vulnerable. Like, some of your best pregame speeches are before the game, because anything you say, like, the kids are all in. They just want to, whatever you say, I believe. Yeah. And I thought, what better time?
It's almost like they're going into battle, right? They know they could get hurt. There's a lot at stake, right? So there's a vulnerability in that moment.
Amen.
Yeah.
And so what I told myself, like, what better time is it to go and have mass? What better time it is to go into worship than that time when you're in that vulnerable state? And that's really a big reason why I did it too. I want our play, and you don't have to be Catholic to go to our mat. Not all of our players are Catholic, but I want them to embrace that spirituality in that vulnerable state, and that's what I want them to remember. Right? They're going to remember the walk, they're going to remember the fans and those moments, but I want them to grow in their spirituality in those moments before a game. We always say the calm before the storm. We know when the foot hits the ball, it's going to be the storm.
Does it resonate with them? Do you have anybody who says, like, Coach, I don't want to go to mass, before?
No. I think they they truly enjoy it. They embrace it. It's a part of their pregame routine, and I just love being a part of it with them.
On a personal note, you made a decision in your first year as a head football coach to convert to Catholicism. I think you've always been a person of deep faith. Tell us a little bit about that decision and what was behind it.
Yeah, I was raised Christian, right, and raised in the church, but my wife was raised Catholic, and our kids were raised Catholic, and you know, there was always a pull at converting, but I never really made the decision. And when I became the head coach, it was something I felt a calling saying, okay, it's time. And you know, that was a decision I made for myself and my family. As I tell our players, you know, Father Nate and this university is always going to be open to, you know, you becoming Catholic if you want to, but we embrace who you are. Right? We embrace who you are. This football program embraces all individuals. And I want them to understand that we are going to try to grow in terms of spirituality. But just know that you don't have to be a certain, you know, religion or have a certain faith to be embraced by this football program. And so that's why I decided personally to do that. And I'm so happy I did for myself and my family. But I just want our young people to grow in their faith.
Could you give everybody the names of your 6 children from top to bottom?
Number one is the oldest is Vincent. He goes by Vinny. Then Sienna, and then Gino, and then Nico, and then Capri, and then Rocco.
So if anybody ever doubts who rules the roost at any family, it's always the mother. Those are very Italian names across the board. I love that. All right. So on another note, is you're known for having an impeccable sense of fashion. I must say that this morning I was I never really think about what I put on, but I was a little intimidated to come in here and sit across from you, and you know, the people just say, "Oh, he's always looking so sharp. He's smartly dressed." Have you always had this fashion sense since you were a kid, or does it come from Joanna? Where does it come from?
For sure, my wife. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't dress the way I do. And she picks out a lot of things. And I'm cheap by nature. Like, I don't like spending money, especially on clothes. But I also like gifts. And so when my wife says, I bought you this and this is what you're going to wear, I love it. You know, there's also some perks that come with being a head coach in Notre Dame.
That's right. You get some good swag.
Some people send you some things, say, Coach, wear this. Absolutely. You know, but I don't see myself buying those things. I mean, no, but it's for sure credit goes to my wife.
So you've been a head football coach here at Notre Dame now, but really anywhere, for 2 years. One could argue that the landscape of college football, there may not be a 2-year period where it's changed more. When you look at the emergence of NIL, when you look at all the new concerns about health protocols, when you look at the transfer portal, when you look at the new college football playoff system, when you look at the what seems to be moving from student athlete in a lot of places to more employees. I think there was just a ruling this past week about Dartmouth, players being considered employees of the university. So not only are you learning a new job, but in some ways you're trying to paint a moving train. How have you been able to navigate all this change as a new coach? And is it more difficult for Notre Dame to be Notre Dame, given all these adverse winds?
You know, I don't think there's a better time for Notre Dame and especially Notre Dame football to thrive than right now. And we've had a lot of success in the changing times these past 2 years. And I think our independence, I think who we are as a university has set us up to have a lot of success right now in the NIL era, the transfer portal era, the changings of college athletics. And so with our leadership, with our administration, we are in such a good spot in terms of our TV deals, in terms of our NIL situation, in terms of what we have to sell. Right. And listen, if our guys become employees, then we'll figure out what the next step is. But there's so much support for the University of Notre Dame and this football program and athletics, that I believe in my heart we will always be in a great position to have success.
So in some ways, we're even more differentiated at Notre Dame, and that makes it easier to recruit not only student athletes but coaches to be a part of this.
Absolutely, it's so true.
I love your adaptability, and that whatever the changes are that might be ahead of us, we'll find a way to be ourselves and adapt.
And be successful.
That's key. Talk to us a little bit about. Sometimes I think that you're not one man, you're 10 men, because I'll pop on a men's or women's basketball game or a hockey game or a lacrosse match, and there you are. You are there with your children. Sometimes you're there with the other players or with Joanna. You seem to really have fully committed yourself to this camaraderie of other Notre Dame coaches. What do? You mentioned something about learning from each other, supporting each other. Tell us a little bit about that camaraderie.
I think that's a small reflection of this place, right? And you look at the student population, 8,500 kids from all over the country,
right,
that come to this place and become a family, become a community. That's what makes Notre Dame special. And it's the same thing amongst the athletic programs, is that we are so integrated within our sports, and that we become family and support each other. And I love to see our other coaches have success. But I've also become a fan. Right? I love this place. And I love to go see our lacrosse team, which we have a couple football players on the team, or go to see the men's and women's basketball team, but all sports, because I love to see Notre Dame win, but more than anything, I want to support our other sports in this place.
Right. So, I think a lot about the many challenges of your job, but particularly the challenge of dealing with so much passion and interest from different media outlets. And I've thought that if I had somebody putting a microphone in front of my face, like I'm doing to you right now, coincidentally, and asking for every thought or reaction to each game or play or personnel dynamic, I'm sure I would slip up more than a few occasions. I would say something that would be easily taken out of context as well. How do you manage the media? What is your philosophy for dealing with that constant demand for more information?
There's a couple of things. One, as I look at the media, when I stand in front of them, I look at them as people that have jobs. This is their job. And, I can't take it personal, maybe if their opinion differentiates from mine, right? And that's okay. That's their job, and that's how they make a living. But two,
first, that's beautiful. That's a great way to think about that.
You. And two, I remind, I never want to walk into a press conference emotional. Right. You have to decompress, and if you are emotional, take a minute. It can wait, because when you're emotional, you become defensive. And I don't want to do that. I want to give them honest feedback. Here's my reasons for why I made the decisions I've made, but be honest and non-emotional. And also don't be sensitive, right? Is that because somebody questions what you do, there can be a difference of opinion, and that's okay as long as you have a conviction in terms of decisions you've made. So at times we can agree to disagree. I respect every person as an individual, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion. And at the end of the day, I think we both can respect each other for that.
One moment I remember that I really appreciated was when you were recruiting an assistant coach, and you brought the coach to a sporting event and seen kind of publicly, and then you were criticized for, well, you shouldn't have exposed him afterwards. And I loved how the fact that you just took it head on. And it was almost, to me, it was, we're not afraid to be vulnerable.
Right.
We're going to recruit. We're going to do our thing. I thought it was a beautiful response.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, honesty trumps perception of trying to save face, right? Is that I would rather get up there and own a loss. On the football field, in terms of recruiting, losses happen in life, right? Nobody likes to lose, but they're a part of life, and they're a part of when you run a program. It's reality, and so I would much rather get up there and own it and say, you know what, it shouldn't have happened. but it happened, and this is why it happened. We lost for this reason or that, and move forward instead of trying to save face. And then all of a sudden, your next question is, well, you told us this last week. Now you're doing this week, and you forgot what you said last week. Right. Let's just be honest about it. Let's own every decision we make, and let's move forward.
So you've had 2 years now under Jack Swarbrick as the Notre Dame athletics director, and we're experiencing a transition here in the next month or so where Pete Bavacqua is going to take over. What has been your experience of working under Jack, and what are your thoughts about the future under Pete?
Yeah, I'm always grateful to Jack Swarbrick and Father John for the decision they made to offer me the position of head coach. And Jack's been such a unbelievable mentor for me, a leader, and what he's done for Notre Dame athletics, what Father John has done for this university in the past 20 years has just been tremendous. And we wouldn't be where we're at as a university or athletics program without their leadership, and I wouldn't be here. And so I almost look to him as a mentor, father figure. And now in the transition with Pete, I got to know Pete on a level last year as the chairman of NBC Sports. Right. And now as my future boss, I am so excited for our future in the relationship and where our sports programs will continue to go. Right. And so it has been the smoothest transition I could ever dream of. And again, I'm so grateful to Jack and so excited for our future with Pete.
I don't know if Joanne is feeling threatened, but Pete may compete with his sartorial splendor. I mean, he's all about his attire too. He is. So you know,
he can have the crown. Listen, he can have the crown.
I think he's got a ways. He's got an uphill battle still to go. All right, I have one final question, and Albert Einstein said that there's 2 ways to lead your life. One is if nothing is a miracle, and the other is as if everything is a miracle. And tell us something miraculous about your life.
Look around here. I'm the head coach at Notre Dame, and I often remind myself that. I walk into this building and I look around. You're the head coach at Notre Dame, because I think if you ever lose that perspective and that gratitude, and then what's your passion, right? You take things for granted. If you don't value it, your choices will reflect that, right? And so I value this position, and I want to make sure my choices reflect what I value. And so what a miracle. I'm the head coach at Notre Dame, and I'll continue to be that way until maybe Notre Dame says it's time to go. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, regardless of win or losses, I would feel privileged, honored to have one of my children be able to be mentored by you and to be under your leadership. And I know that they would grow. Athletically, intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, physically, in every dimension. And so we're really, really blessed and to have you here at Notre Dame in this very visible leadership role. And we're really feeling bullish and excited about the future. So what we always do, Marcus, in these interviews, if you don't mind joining me, we always close and invite everybody who's with us to join in a Hail Mary. We're a university devoted to Our Lady, and so we'll close in homage to her. So, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thanks again, Marcus. Thanks to all of you. Take care. God bless, and go Irish.
Thank you for listening to this episode of For Good, Stories from Notre Dame, where we explore the remarkable impact of Our Lady's University. In this series of conversations, we offer a behind-the-scenes glimpse into life under the Golden Dome and discuss the innovative, diverse, and powerful ways that Notre Dame strives to be a force for good in the world. You can find upcoming and previous episodes on our YouTube channel, ND Loyal, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Join us next time as we continue to uncover how Notre Dame is impacting the world for good, one story at a time.